right, guys. So we got to talk about President Trump, who has been on an absolute tear lately, okay? I mean, this guy is more popular than he's ever been. I mean, if you look at the polls, I mean, even the liberal media polls, the New York Times poll, had him up by 5 points over Joe Biden outside of the margin of error, okay? Trump is as popular as he has ever been, period, okay? And a lot of the popularity for Trump, I think, really does come from the fact that Joe Biden has been such a terrible president. That is why when Trump shows up to places like, for example, UFC 299, which you guys saw, Trump showed up. Not only does he get a standing ovation, but also F Joe Biden chants break out because, again, people really are not liking Joe Biden. Yeah, so you see now, you heard that. Standing ovations, F Joe Biden chants. That is what happens when Trump shows up at an event or when he has an event. But when Joe Biden has an event, there are no real standing ovations. There's no energy behind Joe Biden. In fact, you have people protesting actively, going after the Biden administration and some of his policies.
You're a dictator, do genocide, Joe! Tens of thousands of Palestinians!
Yeah, that was the most pathetic 4 more years chant that I've ever seen in my life because they don't really believe that. Nobody believes that. Nobody wants 4 more years of inflation, right? Nobody wants 4 more years of open borders. Nobody wants 4 more years of more crime. Nobody wants 4 more years of sending money overseas to these other countries and fighting these foreign wars. But who knows? Maybe Joe Biden's supporters do want that. I'm not entirely sure, okay? I don't know exactly why these individuals think the way they do. I actually think they should be studied, okay? Because, again, I think they have Stockholm Syndrome, right? But with that being said, speaking of UFC, we got to talk about Joe Rogan, who actually did a recent show with Christopher Rufo where he discussed the Biden administration's diversity hires. People like Karine, Pierre, and just how terrible they have been for the Biden administration, a terrible representation for the Biden administration. And I think this is also part of the reason why people aren't feeling the Biden administration as much is because he's hiring nut jobs and diversity hires to do jobs that real professionals should be doing. I mean, his administration is a clown show. So again, like I tell you guys all the time, it's important to pay attention to what people like Joe Rogan says or a Stephen A. Smith or a, Bill Maher or whatever. And a lot of them, again, they're going to vote Democrat regardless, but they seem to be at least a part of the group of people who can see some of the sanity of the Democrat Party. Again, even though most of those people will vote Democrat regardless, I don't think Joe Rogan's one of those people, right? I think Joe Rogan is one of the people that's like, okay, I might actually, do the right thing, right? Even though I'm not sure, I don't know. But again, even he notices how ridiculous the Biden administration is.
It is interesting that he's so frail that he's transparent, right? And he's so transparent to the point where the White House press secretary accidentally tweeted as him from her account. You saw that,
yeah,
right? Which is wonderful. I love when that happens because it's like, thank you. I was wondering, and now I know. I was really confused. I kind of had a feeling it was you.
Yeah.
I mean, that just goes to show what everybody knows, that Joe Biden is not actually really running the show, okay? This is the 3rd Obama term. That's what this is. I think that Obama is pulling the strings, okay, behind the scenes. And again, that's why Trump always calls Biden Obama, but the mainstream liberal media thinks he's getting Biden Obama mixed up. He's actually really not. He's calling Biden Obama because that's what it is. I mean, like, he's not running anything. Okay, it's the people around Joe. I think Jill might be making more decisions than Joe Biden at this point. Joe Biden ain't making no decisions on anything, right? Okay, so when we talk about the Biden administration and what they're doing, what we're actually really talking about are Joe Biden's handlers, okay, the people around him, okay? He's just a figurehead. He's an empty suit. This is why Democrats okay with putting him out there and, trying to get him elected again. Is because if they get him elected again, this dude can be controlled. right? I mean, look at what's happening to Joe Biden right now when it comes to the backlash against him calling the illegal immigrants illegals, right? I mean, the backlash is that, well, Joe didn't stay on script, right? Joe actually came out here and said what he thinks. Again, I told you guys, Joe Biden is not a progressive, okay? That's not who he is. He was not that for a vast majority of his career. He wasn't even that when he was running as VP with Obama. Joe Biden was the conservative Democrat to balance out Obama, right? That's what Joe Biden was. That's what his role was, okay? So from Joe Biden to go from that to a far left progressive, which is how his administration is right now, that's not him, okay? That's actually his handlers. Evidenced by the fact that, again, he doesn't even put out his own tweets. He probably doesn't know how to log into Twitter, okay? And the fact that he came out here and said what he actually really thinks in regards to calling an illegal immigrant illegal, and the Democrat Party toasted him for it, right? They got upset because Joe actually spoke his mind. He said exactly what he thinks. But again, he's being handled, okay, by others. So he's being told what to say, what he can and can't say, okay, what agenda he can and can't push. So it's not really him that's running anything. It's his handlers, it's people around him. It's the Obamas, right? That's what I believe personally. And throw the Clintons in there as well, too. They probably got to say.
You know, and is there ever been a worse White House press secretary? How did she get that job? She's so bad at convincing people. There's a bunch of like hardcore, ideologically driven, left-wing pundits that are on YouTube that could do a way better job. And they would be fucking psycho about it. They would be psycho about it, and the left would be like, yeah. Like, she's not the one. Yeah. Like, she's fucking terrible at it. She gets called out for stuff all the time. She gets set up for stuff all the time. Like, Peter Ducey's always setting her up. He talks to her.
Ducey's amazing.
He's so good. He'll provide a little bit of this, but then what about that?
Yeah.
And, you know, she's just awful at it.
Yeah, I mean, I think she's the worst press secretary in history. And that's not an exaggeration. I mean, that's just calling it like it is. We don't get any answers from her. Okay, I mean, I don't even know why we have a press conference with the White House anymore. Like, what is the point? There is no point. You don't get any information. She just says, well, go talk to somebody else. I'll circle back. That's what Jen Psaki was doing. Circle back Psaki, right? That's what she was saying. Karine Jean-Pierre usually says, well, I don't have any more information for you at this time. Okay, you know, she tells you to talk to somebody else. I mean, like, you don't get any answers from her. I don't understand why she even does the press conferences anymore, right? There's no point. Absolutely no point. She might as well write a statement, okay, every single day saying that, well, this is our positions on these questions, right? Send your questions. We're going to write answers to your questions because you're not going to get anything from her in regards to her saying anything during the press conference. And that's what makes her so bad. That's what makes her so bad at her job. She's clearly and obviously struggling. She's in over her head. And, you know, there's been times where the media has complained about it, right? They come out and said, hey, why isn't Karine Jean-Pierre answering any questions? We're not getting anything out of her. Okay, the media is frustrated. But, you know, they can't really be too frustrated. They can't express themselves too much because they'll be accused of racism, right? They'll be accused of attacking a black woman, try to make her lose her job, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So, you know, they only can really say so much about it. But, you know, everybody knows it. Again, everybody knows it. It's plain as day. It's obvious. But again, it's not just her. It's the other people in the Biden administration that are being hired in positions of power that don't belong there. But they're only there because of identity politics. And it's sad. It really is. This is why our country is a laughingstock.
And she's only really challenged by one person.
Right.
In the briefing room, and still manages to bungle it on the daily.
Well, it's just there's so much madness that she has to like cover up.
It's what, and look, this is again a kind of brass tacks way of talking about it, but it's what happens when you put identity over competence.
Yeah. Everyone
knows, like, explicitly, and then when you hire someone, it's a big celebration of all the different intersectional identities the candidate has.
Yeah.
You know, this is our first, you know, black, female, I don't know, LGBTQ, not really sure.
Yeah.
And so the problem with that, though, is when you're not making a decision based on competence, merit, excellence, you're buying into it at the front end on that different hierarchy of decision making. But then on the back end, you can't do anything about it. You say, well, you elevated this person for identity. You can't fire that person because of incompetence.
Unless they steal women's clothes from the airport.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Unless they get a little sideways,
or they get banged out in the Senate hearing room, right? Which is what happened to one of the Democrats and their staffers, I believe. Again, he was getting his booty hole pounded, right? And they had to fire him, okay? But again, you know, that's what happens. I mean, once you hire these people based off these intersectionalities and identities or whatever, right? Yeah, you can't fire them. You can't get rid of them, because if you fire them, then it's racist, right? It's racist. Then you'll be accused of being a bigot. So you're stuck with them. You're stuck with their incompetence, and that is kind of what is going on with the Biden administration right now. They are stuck with the incompetence of cringe Jean-Pierre. They can't get rid of her even if they wanted to, because again, the backlash would be crazy. They'd be saying that, well, you're homophobic and you're racist and you hate black women, right? This is what they do. This is what they say. When clearly and obviously this woman is, again, she's not very good at her job, okay? I think John Kirby, the straight white male, should have been the guy. But they can't have a straight white male be in those types of positions of power anymore unless they're an empty suit like Joe Biden, right? One that can be completely controlled and pulled to the far left when it comes to his agenda. So, hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.